Hello, welcome to Geeking Out with Shad. This is what they mean by preheating. It is minus 3 degrees this morning. So when I have the car plugged in, at least while it's plugged in, the battery will do its maintenance thing throughout the night and so on and so forth to keep it in a decent temperature. And then when I start it like this, and have it plugged in, it'll warm up the car and warm everything up. I generally only do it for about 5 minutes and then it's good to go. What this will do is it'll increase my cold weather range. A lot of people talk about this, like if you can be plugged in when you warm up the car, you won't need to use your battery to get the battery warmed up and the cabin warmed up and everything. But once I'm out driving, it just has to maintain that warmth. It doesn't have to do that initial warm up, which takes a lot of juice. So pretty cool. So the other nice thing is that when I get in the car, it's already blowing hot air like right away. It doesn't take long to get to hot air when I start driving it from a cold start anyway, but it's kind of nice to have it blowing hot air. It didn't warm up a ton because I didn't leave it sit for too long, but if I left it sit longer, the seats heat up. I mean, the seats started to heat up a little bit, the steering wheel is already a little warm, so on and so forth. And that's because I have heated seats and a heated steering wheel. Not all Bolts have that. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I am at a full charge. Of course, full charge, it shows 3.8, but that's just the default. That drops down pretty fast. Giving me 152 miles of range. It'll be a lot less than that when it's this cold. This says 0. I don't think that's very accurate. My weather app this morning said -3, but either way, I mean, within a 3-degree range. Cool. I'm gonna go get my coffee. The other thing I noticed is that when I start the car from a cold start, it gives me this message when it's really cold out that it has reduced power. And I'm sure that's just during the time that it takes for it to properly warm up the battery and stuff. But one of the disadvantages of that is it doesn't give me a message ever saying, oh, power is back to normal. And even when it's in reduced power mode, I don't really notice the power is reduced. I mean, it still seems to drive like normal and everything, so it's not like it's limping along or anything. I can do all my just normal driving like I do. It still accelerates quickly, things like that. So I don't know how much power is reduced. I suppose I could look it up, but yeah. When I started it this morning, oh, now this is corrected. It says -2 now. So now that I'm driving, it's actually correcting itself. So when I started this morning, because I did that pre-warm up with it plugged in and everything, I didn't get the reduced power message, and I always get it when it's like below 10 degrees or below. The other day it was like 7 degrees out and I got the message, so I don't know at what temperature it does that, but I'm assuming it's around there. So yeah, that's cool because I don't get the reduced power message because the car got warmed up ahead of time. So that's cool. So now that I've been driving this car for a while in these more extreme colder conditions, I have a good idea of what the ranges are. So driving in the city where I'm like doing short trips and having to start the car, warm it up and stuff, not like I did this morning where it was plugged in, but when it's just sitting there, like when I go to work or wherever and the car sits, it cools off and then I start it and it has to go through this warm up process. That really takes a toll on the battery. And so driving around the city with these short, 4-mile, 6-mile trips all the time and stopping and letting the car cool and then having to warm it up for the next little short trip, that gives me right around 100 miles of range, or just under 100 miles of range, which is a pretty significant cut from what the summertime is in the city, where I'm saying about a third, because in the summer doing the exact same thing I get over 300 miles of range. So that's pretty big difference, significant difference. But for city commuting, I don't need more than that. That's the nice thing is because I'm able to plug in at home or whatever, I don't really need, I still go like 3 or 4 days before I have to plug my car in and charge it. And in the summertime, I could easily go more than a week, right? So not a big deal for city commuting, but the difference is if I was going on a longer trip in these extreme cold conditions, I will get about 130 miles of range, maybe even 140. It really depends on the speeds. Obviously, if I'm going in 70, 75 miles per hour, I'm going to get less range, probably closer to the 120 range. But if I'm doing 65 miles per hour, I'm going to get closer to that 140 miles of range. And that's in these extreme temperatures, and we're talking below zero, below 10 degrees, things like that. I did that road trip when it was 17 degrees out, and I ended up with I don't remember exactly, but it was somewhere around 180 miles of range. And again, that was at speeds varying from 70, but I think average I probably was doing 65 miles an hour, because I was driving on a lot of the Wisconsin 2-lane roads. So it's really only these extreme cold temperatures that it is significantly impacted. Once you start getting into the upper teens, into the 20s, at least road trip wise, it does a lot better. And then in the city, it does decent. But definitely something to know before buying an EV, especially an EV without a heat pump. If you live in these extreme cold temperatures, it's certainly doable because I own a home and I have a charger that I can plug in overnight, right? But if you don't have that, I can see where living in extreme cold temps with an EV like this one anyway would be more challenging. I would highly recommend that you get one that has a higher battery capacity if you need more range, and a heat pump and stuff like that, which is going to cost quite a bit more. Cars like that generally are over $50,000. And this car, fully loaded, Bolt EUV launch edition, premier launch edition, it's got all the things, the heated and cooled seats, every little feature that's available, even Super Cruise, for $37K. So this car is a killer deal, but it doesn't have a heat pump. It only has front wheel drive, things like that. So it's, certainly not, all specced out with some of the more expensive features that you get when you pay $50K or more. So there you have it. I really appreciate your support for my channel. Please like and subscribe. Peace.